Today marked a very historic, classified meeting at the White House on this wonderful day of April 26th. Um, the details were not really divulged. We know Trump spoke during it. We know the Secretary of Defense, Mattis, and Secretary of State Tillerson were both there. And there might have been talk about North Korea, but all in all, we're kind of in the dark still in regards to the details of this meeting. Aside from those few details, and I just contradicted myself, but we don't know entirely what was said. And I guess one could argue, oh, well, you never know what's really said unless you have a recording of it. I don't think they're all lying on what happened over there. So I'm continuing to hear this talk about this tax plan of his, and I'm trying to cram it out by Friday. I don't think that's going to be done. I think they have very little time to accomplish it. And really, who's even asking for any tax program to begin with? But we know that this is part of his attempt to get some major piece of legislation passed before the 100-day mark is over in 3 days. So that explains the expediency of this new piece he's trying to put out. And then you had Steve Mnuchin, if I'm pronouncing his last name right. I should just said the Treasury Secretary, saying that Trump is not going to put out his tax returns. He has been more forthcoming than anyone else, in Mnuchin's opinion. I thought to myself, I kept reading that Ford was the last president that did not put out their tax returns. And Ford got a lot of crap, partially for the pardoning of Nixon. He messed up during one of the debates with Carter during that 1976 election cycle. There was just a whole bunch of things that he was poked at for in regards to his policies, speech, and everything else. But the thing with Ford is that I don't remember him making allegations and claims. You see, you open yourself up to these theories that people are having. This notification got out of the way. When you start making theories and allegations on your own. For example, I don't think anyone would actually suspect that Trump was doing something devious in regards to his money if he had not made allegations that he had bought out politicians in the past. Now, one is not in of themselves devious for donating to someone's campaign, but we know the story of corruption in politics usually having to do with financing and money and all of that other jazz. Really, it's something I feel he brought on himself from all of the allegations he made during the campaign, and they're just catching up to him. Does that mean every single thing that's said about him is right? No, of course not. I like to ignore a lot of those claims about, stuff with his daughter, and then the stuff with these women, just because the timing of that was very suspect, weeks before the election, really. But when it comes to his taxes, and given the fact that this man went bankrupt 4 times, something on there is suspicious. And the more he waits to put it out, or the longer he refuses to, just adds up to more suspicion in my view. But it's not something I lose sleep over, because if he puts it out and we find there's something cruddy in there, is that basis to impeach him? Certainly we can use that to run against him both in the midterm election, next in the upcoming presidential election. But what does that do long term to affect people's lives? And that's really what's been bothering me about the continued talk of this man's tax returns. Just get over it. He's not going to put it out. Tax day didn't work. That Saturday in March a while back. Going to his Treasury Secretary is not working. And no one in his cabinet is going to pressure him to do it. So I don't understand where this continued push for this comes from, other than we want to find something to discredit him about let's go after the one thing we can't entirely know is safe or is barred from our critiquing, which, I'm saying that as someone who's not even a Trump supporter. I'm just an indifferent person who opposes some of his policies and agrees with him on one thing, which has nothing to do with immigration or social policy. But yeah, it's bothersome to me. We have people that don't have health care right now. We have people who are living in the streets. We have people who are blowing each other's brains out in Chicago. We need to go and provide focus to matters that matter. And the other part of this that needs to be taken away. There's some more talk about Michael Flynn, our former national security advisor with the shortest tenure ever, I think. And when I was watching the news earlier, there was almost no discussion of it. Now, I go on the Young Turks, they talk about it. If there was really involvement with Russia, which I suspect to be the case, I don't see the man going to jail. And that comes from the fact that you have to ask yourself, when has a cabinet member ever been put in prison while the president that put them in the cabinet to begin with was still in office? So those are my opinions for today. Keep winding down.